Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 122 of Confessions of a Market Maker. I'm your co-host, Ray, aka All Day Ray, aka Dr. Knockboot, and I'm joined here by my illustrious co-host, former market maker, 20 years and current day retail trader, a man who's always where the dough's at. You could catch him traveling around with a chicken like he's Borat, the third Butabi brother. JJ, how's it going?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing great. We're going to kick off a another new series here on Confessions, or perhaps maybe an extension of the latest series we've been doing on the stock breakdowns. But today we're going to be doing cryptocurrency breakdown in Bitcoin specifically. Now, I know a lot of the people, a lot of just the population, maybe a lot of the listeners of this podcast don't understand crypto. Maybe they flat out despise crypto. And, I guess that's fine if you have those stances. It truly is. But we're traders, right, JJ? We're here to make money. Billions of dollars flowed into these spot Bitcoin ETFs that we've seen here recently. So we ask people to put your opinions, your ideologies aside because crypto's now getting out of the back alley now, isn't it, JJ?
Hey, if it's good enough for Uncle Larry, it's good enough for me. Um, you know, uh, BlackRock's, in this market now, and people have passed the regulatory hurdles. Let it rip. You know, uh, why not? I don't understand how Bitcoin works. I don't understand the whole technology, so I've been nervous to get into it. But now that it's in an ETF, hell, I'll trade the crap out of it, right? Because you know, uh, they've they've legitimized it and they're going to backstop it. So why not? I think it's just another tradable instrument. And we had a gentleman on our podcast last week, and he was very, very clear on the counterparty risk, the clearing, and all of those risks have been worked out. So, hey, it's a new asset class. It presents opportunity for us as traders.
Yep. Yep.
I'm, full steam ahead. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we had on the Bitwise CEO last podcast. If you
Mhm.
guys didn't check that, it was very insightful um, on the inner workings of ETFs in general and just what's to come ahead here in the crypto landscape. Um, yeah, and I know I opened up with that, and I just really advise JJ, we see this just with people trading stocks, futures, whatever. Like people
Oh
just
yeah.
can't remove their like opinion or their bias about something. And it's like, listen, we're just traders, right? And
Yeah.
and we're getting a lot of money's coming into this. I think both me and you believe like this, just crypto as a whole in this industry is going to start providing a lot of opportunity, more liquidity coming in. So, I always
Yeah.
like to kind of be where like the new thing is. And I know even kind of from your previous career, you was always getting into like new, the hot
Oh,
trendy things of the moment.
yeah, exactly. And that's what finance is all about, taking the hottest new trendy thing, wrapping it up in a pretty package and trying to sell as much of it as we can for as long as we can, as high as we can.
Hmm.
So, product, because people always, not everybody wants to eat a Big Mac. Somebody might want a Whopper, somebody might want to go to Wendy's, right? You have to give people choice, and I think there's nothing wrong with this. And I think that they've sorted out the clearing problems and the custody problems and the counterparty problems. I think the field is wide open. And especially if you don't want to trade the physical Bitcoin, you can go and, you can trade the, BITB, for example, the
Hmm.
Bitwise.
Yep.
And it's just, it's very, it just opens up exposure to this for a lot of new people. And so I used to chart Bitcoin, and now I started charting it again, just looking at, where the cost basis is and where we are generally in this market. We're in a nice little distribution balance here. If you can see my screen, we've got, it's where is this level here? Sorry, my eyesight. that 26,000 to just under 32,000, that's really the cost basis. And then we had a little distribution between 34 and 36,000. And now we're getting that nice distribution here between, above 40,000. We had this move higher on the news, so we'd call that a look below and fail. It targets the bottom. And now we're just kind of today, I think we're at 41,668 or somewhere like that. So we're
Hmm.
still in this box, So as price stability builds in this market, more people will come and start executing and start taking down positions. What they're looking for is price stability. Then they'll look for that in a stock or anything. Large traders, large investors will look for price stability, and they'll start getting some exposure to this now. So um, I think the future is bright for this thing. I'm an old guy, but I've learned very, very early from hanging out with younger people to adopt to new things. And unlike Uncle Jamie from J.P. Morgan, I'm not going to be, what do they call it, a FUD. So, I don't know what that means, but after his interview, everybody's calling him a FUD, and I don't really even like the sound of that. I think of Elmer Fudd. And I don't want to be one of those guys. So, hey, rock and roll. Let's get to it.
Rock and roll, yeah. So for those of you listening on audio, if you go to our YouTube page, we do got this is video. JJ's got his chart up, so if you want the visuals to see what he was just talking about, it'll be up on YouTube. JJ, just looking at the chart, the thing that comes to mind, and I got to shout out our boy Walter Deemer. I
Hmm.
love his book of like little quotes. It's so simple, but like they're so impactful. And one of the quotes I've seen him say, right, and it reminds me looking at this chart, right, like a parabolic advance followed by, chop or consolidation is not bearish,
No,
right? And so when you
no.
get these, right, I think you would agree with me, right? When you get these
Yeah,
strong advances and then a consolidation, strong advance consolidation,
yeah.
it's usually, yeah, it's not bearish.
You know, and what I would say too, not only is that, but never underestimate the power of trap shorts. When this thing moved up over 32,000, I would imagine there's quite a few people trap short here and
Hmm.
then here and then here. Because every time it goes sideways, people think it's weak and they short it,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Some professional traders will see that price stability and go, okay, I can start buying it. But the sort of uninitiated traders look at balance or this sideways chop as weakness, and then they start hammering it. And then next thing you know, you get these pops and they're getting stopped out. So there's that dynamic as well in this market.
Hmm.
So, it's just starting out, and these fund managers, they make investment decisions by committee. And so, you know, uh, like our fine guest said last week, he said, listen, these guys are just starting to make plans for meetings to talk about Bitcoin. They're
Hmm.
not actually even executing yet.
Right.
So who knows what's going to happen?
Right. Right. Interesting. So, I just want to give a quick shout out here to our friends at Top Step Funding and Apex Trading. Any listeners of this podcast that have the skills to pass an evaluation can become a prop trader fully funded by either Apex Trading or Top Step Funding. Our own micro futures trading community has many members who are now fully funded. No need to trade with your own money. Keep 90% of the profits. To learn more, you can visit our website at microefutures.com. I got some facts, stats, some notable tidbits here about Bitcoin that I want to give to the listeners, maybe for those who are newer to this, want to learn a little bit more, maybe for people who maybe intrigued and want to invest. I think just, understanding what Bitcoin's about a little bit better would be a good idea. But before I get into that, JJ, I know you've, and we're going to do more of these videos, talk
Hmm.
about some of these other coins. Uh, I know you have looked at crypto through TPO charts.
Oh yeah.
And I know a lot of times people are like, people had the question for us, is it applicable through TPO? And I really think TPO is applicable for anything, right?
Oh, definitely. TPO works on Bitcoin. I apologize. My TPO chart provider has kind of messed up my account. for Bitcoin, so I had to use just a regular candle wax chart here. But yeah, TPO charts are great for Bitcoin, and you can also take what you learn from a TPO chart if you don't have it and use it on a candle chart. The concepts can be used on candles, so you don't have to be a slave to the chart.
Hmm.
Is what I'm, yeah.
Right, right, for sure. Yeah, I remember, man, I've taken it way back now, JJ, but shout out to our favorite Greek trader, Damon Pavlatos. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, but I believe he
Yep.
said he would like TPO like real estate markets or something. And because I remember we were just
That
talking
was
about TPO
Dalton.
Detroit.
That was Dalton.
Oh,
Who
that was
used it for
Dalton. That
real
was
estate.
Dalton.
Yeah, that
Sorry.
was Jim Dalton.
Shout
But
out
yeah,
to Jim
Damon
Dalton.
has done a lot of work with TPO as well. Those guys are the sort of the OGs of market profile and
Yeah,
TPO. Dalton, Stadelmeyer, Pavlatos. They're the guys that I learned from, and then tried to make it practical for the guy on the street.
for sure. For sure. And I guess kind of in conjunction with TPO charts, right? Let's jump into a little facts here with Bitcoin. Supply and demand aspects. But before jumping into that, let's just start from the beginning, right? Bitcoin's, and we were talking a little bit about this before, the original inventor. He's known under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. As of 2021, the true identity of the person or organization that is behind the alias remains unknown. So on October 31st, Halloween of 2008, Nakamoto published Bitcoin's white paper, which describes in detail how a peer-to-peer online currency could be implemented. They proposed to use a decentralized ledger of transactions packaged in batches, or called blocks, and secured by cryptographic algorithms. The whole system would later be dubbed blockchain. Now, to the supply aspect, which is interesting point about Bitcoin here. The total supply is limited by its software and will never exceed 21 million coins. New coins are created during the process known as mining, as transactions are relayed across the network. I believe right now, JJ, about 19.5 million coins have been mined so far.
Okay.
They get picked up by the miners. So as transactions are relayed across the network, they get picked up by miners and are packaged into blocks, which are in turn protected by complex cryptographic calculations. As compensation for spending their computational resources, the miners receive rewards for every block that they successfully add to the blockchain. At the moment of Bitcoin's launch, the reward was 50 Bitcoins per block. Now, this number, it gets halved with every 210,000 new blocks mined, which takes the network roughly 4 years. So we have one of these halving events, JJ, scheduled for I believe around April of this year, which
Okay.
which will
Interesting.
reduce the block reward given to the miners by half. So
Oh,
slowing
okay.
down so slowing down the rate of new Bitcoin creation. This will likely lead to an increase of the cost of production and cost and the cash cost
Yeah.
for the miners.
Right.
And not a prediction or anything, but the Bitcoin halving has led to breaking all-time highs in the past. So, as many
Boy,
people have known this 21 million coins, and we've talked about this at nauseum, JJ, right, over the years, that trading simply boils down to supply and demand.
oh
Now
boy,
that there
yeah.
appears to be a growing demand in BTC, it makes things quite interesting, huh?
Definitely. What you just described as an old time stock promoter paper hanger, that is the exact same process that a promoter would use if they want to generate a short squeeze. They would remove supply out of the depository trust system. And what that means in stock, they would, in the old days, we would pull a certificate. So say there was 20 million shares in the float of a company, right? And maybe there's 4 million of it at one brokerage firm. One of the investors would have it there. So we'd move the price up, and then we'd get that investor to request his brokerage firm pull the stock out of his account and put it into certificate form and mail it to him or FedEx it to him. and it would be like taking supply out of the system. This is what this reminds me of,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you suck paper out of the float, when you pull certs, you don't have certs anymore because we don't have paper certificates, right? But if you were to take that stock and put it in an account that, in another country where it couldn't be let, you couldn't borrow against it or take it out of circulation somehow, right? That would almost be almost like a DTC chill when they chill a position at a brokerage firm or something like that. It's very, very interesting because that to me says, okay, you're cutting supply, and now all of these new people are coming into a market, which increases demand. I don't like to predict, but man, with only 19 million coins out there, that's a tight float stock,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
everybody can buy an ETF, right? Pension funds can buy it. I mean, it has to be within their corporate charter and all that stuff. But a lot of the people who weren't allowed to touch it are now allowed to touch it and get exposure to it. So things are going to get very interesting in this.
They
This is
they
going to be very interesting.
they sure are. They sure are. Um, Another interesting tidbit here, JJ. And I don't know if you know this. BTC is legal tender in El Salvador.
I
Uh,
did read that.
yeah, yeah. So I think he did that in like 2021. And it was funny. I follow the president on Twitter because
Okay.
I like it. I've
Yeah.
always I've been in Bitcoin,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
cryptos, 2017, 2018, I don't know, somewhere around there by accident. But um I saw him and he posted on Twitter that he thought this was funny that he's something to the effect that he front runned or and he beat
Oh yeah.
BlackRock to the punch.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah. Definitely.
thought that was
I
funny. Yeah.
I was really I when BlackRock when I were people were saying BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, I was like, okay, because they're the giant, right? In this plan. What do they've got now? They had almost 11 trillion under management, then it dipped. It's somewhere between 9 and 11 trillion dollars that these guys have. And so, that kind of money, when it approves or wants to get into this kind of business, I mean, hell, they've got a building full of flesh-eating lawyers who make 5 grand an hour who have scoped this thing out. So,
Hmm.
they've done the due diligence,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. For sure. And let's see. So BTC's all-time high, slightly under 69,000.
Hmm.
Uh, and what we're currently sitting, we're a little below 42. It looks about a little above 42 right now.
Yeah.
42,000 as we're speaking. Um, JJ, I've been seeing I don't know, I'm not exactly sure who would use a Bitcoin ATM, but I went to the track yesterday and
Oh yeah.
I stopped at a gas station on the way back home, get a Gatorade and a triplicator bar, a muscle triplicator bar. And we'll see if anyone gets that reference. But no, there's a Bitcoin ATM in the gas station. I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, I was curious. And I've seen it's not the first one I've seen, but yeah, I don't know who's buying Bitcoin at ATM, but and the
Yeah. Florida, anything can happen in Florida. You know, anything can happen in Florida. I'm looking at the monthly chart here, and we are right back in the meat of that zone. Prior to those breakouts to the ultimate highs here.
hmm
And so I'd say if this thing starts to accept, if Bitcoin starts to accept over 48,000, be careful shorts. You know,
hmm
because I've seen how short sellers have been ravaged in the U.S. financial markets um, over the last year and over the last couple of years, especially since COVID. We had, our buddy Vuk was saying 1800, 1800, and, this
hmm
thing's trading 47.80. The short sellers have been ravaged in that market. This could be the next market where short sellers just get eaten alive. I would be very, very careful shorting this market because it is a market that has, the supply is limited. And how much of that supply is locked up, right? Because in a market, you usually look and see at institutional ownership, how much of those 19 million coins, where's the volume concentrated? I mean, how many players own a million coins or more? Does that exist? I don't know, right? These are all fascinating questions as we, I know we're late to the party, but as we do our deep dive into this, Magilla, you know, somebody I've read too that, somebody said that a developer can't add more Bitcoin unless they start a brand new Bitcoin chain with a higher number from the start. You simply
Yeah,
can't add more coins after the first block is mined. And that's the beauty of the design. That's pretty cool if that's true, if I'm
it
quoting
is. It is.
a
Yep.
trusted source.
Yep.
That's, and it's funny because the CEO of JP Morgan, this guy didn't just fall off the turnip truck. He came out on CNBC at Davos and he said, hey, this Nakamoto guy is going to show up one day and, he's just going to erase the whole thing and poof, it's going to disappear like Casper the Friendly Ghost. And I was like, wouldn't BlackRock have thought of that? you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I just kind of like, I don't know. You could see that he has a dislike for it, right? And, and then I did a little research and then it's not that simple. It's not like some dude can just turn the key and it disappears. So, I'm a huge skeptic of everything that's new, right? That's because I've seen every scam known to man living and growing up in Vancouver.
Yeah.
It was the scam capital of the world, and we had deposed dictators, we had arms dealers, and guys who robbed 200 million from the Bank of Thailand living there. Everyone was doing business in that place. It was just a cesspool of criminals running their money through markets there. So, you became a healthy skeptic,
hmm
And so at first I was like, this Bitcoin, what is it? Nothing. What's it based on? Nothing. Who owns it? Nothing. I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. And people are paying, 20 grand a coin for this and they don't know what it is. I'm in. But I couldn't quite figure it out and I didn't take advantage. I missed the whole train, but I think there's going to be a lot of trading opportunities, especially if there's some volatility with this thing,
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. For sure. It's definitely Bitcoin is definitely like a unique unique asset trading instrument for sure. Um, as you know, I got actually I'm on for any of you that are interested, I went on Coin Market Cap. They have like Bitcoin analytics, JJ, because you were bringing up the question of how many people own X amount, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin is a public ledger, so they have a breakdown of like I guess like dollar amount. And
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
so between $0 to $1,000, right? About
Yeah.
85.83% of like the Bitcoin wallets, right? So between 0 to 1,000, not market moving by any means. Um, Now between 1,000 to 100,000 is about 13.5% of the wallets, and then 100K plus JJ, so 0.6%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's not there. There is not that much in big hands that can just dump it.
Appears so,
That's
and
interesting.
from
Yeah.
and from what I've seen, and I don't know the validity of it. I mean, I assume it's probably true that like some of these like large holders, like so you think about like the guy like Michael Saylor. I think they like at what's his company? I forget. Micro Strategy.
Strategies. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He like they have over like 400 million, I think easily
Okay.
in Bitcoin. Some of these other people that are like that got in real early that hold a large amounts, it's like locked up. They don't plan on like touching it for a long time. So and just back to the whole supply demand thing we're talking about, it's gonna make from some real interesting
Oh,
dynamics.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
most definitely. I mean, we could see that it sold off and today a little bit. It broke that 42,500 level. And so it's interesting. We'll see how, who steps in and starts bidding this thing. It could be just a healthy pullback. It's I'm going to be watching it with a lot of interest, and I'll probably just, if I do trade it, I will, just trade the ETF.
mhm.
Because I haven't figured out this wallet cold storage. It sounds like you're hanging. I don't know, man. It sounds like you're hanging meat. I don't know what they're doing with this cold storage. Yeah, I don't know any of that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
just a
know that.
give me a
Yeah. Well,
regular old
well,
brokerage
there you
account.
go. That's what we got the ETF for, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's one of I think like one of the biggest counterpoints, or at least the ones that I've seen brought up with crypto is the ease of use, I guess. JJ, it's like I could teach you like fairly quickly and it's really not
Yeah.
that complicated, but it's just it's a different thing. It's a different process. People don't want to like deal with the kind of like perceived headache of it. And
Hmm.
I understand of it. I understand it,
Hmm.
right? Like tech's supposed to make things like easy, simple. But yeah, Kathy Woods, I forgot about her. Kathy Woods
Oh
and
yeah.
them own a lot. Winklevoss twins. I was just looking at a few of these uh,
Oh yeah.
people
The
here with
Facebook guys.
large quantities. Yeah. So Bitwise. Just a few more things here, and we'll wrap up. And we'll get out of here. So Bitwise had one of their like top 10 predictions was Bitcoin was going to trade over 80,000. Uh, Speaking of Kathy Woods, JJ, they got some crazy. I would have to look it up. I don't have the numbers here, but they were saying something like over a million per Bitcoin.
Wow.
I don't know if they put a time frame on it. Um, but
Well, you and I know what happens. I mean, you and I traded through that COVID, and we saw the market break out to new highs, right?
yeah,
We see stocks every day who that do just remember GME and AMC. When the street takes something, man,
yeah,
when the
true.
street takes a stock, the amount of buying, I mean, GME was trading $12 billion worth of stock every day, sometimes more. This thing, because it's got less supply in the float, and you know, it's a thin market, right? I mean, when you have a 21 million share like float, if this was a stock, if you drop some big orders, this thing can move because
Hmm.
there's not enough liquidity in the book to dampen the move, right? And unlike penny stocks and things like that, there's not some character sitting in the Cayman Islands with 5 million coins just that nobody knows about, right? Because there's
Yeah.
that's always been the thing, because I've always been the guy who's been the trader for the guy that nobody knows has the supply, right? And then they get the price up, and here I come like a herd of elephants just dumping supply into a market. That doesn't exist in this, apparently, from everything I know. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic. This thing could be the short squeeze of the century if certain elements come together, you
Hmm.
know?
For sure.
Just saying. Be careful. I mean, I'm just looking at a monthly chart here, and right now it's toying with that 48,000 level, kind of did a little look above and fail. But if it accepts over 48,000, watch your whiskers, short sellers,
Hmm.
you know, because this thing could trade like a low float stock. And those moves could be exaggerated because of the nature of the instrument. And I've actually never traded the Bitcoin itself, right? Right, right now if you look at the spreads in you know in the ETF, the spreads are fairly decent in the ETF. I'm showing a little picture here. You look at the level two, it's 2286 bid, 87 offer. There's a penny spread. And even on a low volume day with only 3,700 transactions, that's a nice tight spread. But what happens if somebody drops a million share buy order, right? The liquidity for that'd be interesting.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll
For
see what
sure.
happens.
For sure. Yeah. I think I saw something too with like what the billions of dollars that came into these Bitcoin ETFs. I think there's 11 of them. I think it like exceeded like all the ETFs of last year or um
Oh,
something of that effect.
yeah,
Uh,
it's going to be a very interesting year. It's going to be an election year. This is new. This is legitimized now. Should be it'll give us a lot to look at
for
and
sure.
hopefully a lot to trade.
Yeah, an election year too. I forgot. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, don't forget that. You guys,
Uh, should
you
be
know,
fun.
as my buddy who liked distribution would say, JJ, we need the drama. And you're gonna have lots of drama this year.
Good, good. And like you said, man, like as we've been talking this out, man, like crypto has already been known to have like, just nice movements to say the
Yeah.
least, right? Some real good pumps.
Oh yeah.
Now we got some more money coming in. Yeah, like we said, we're not making no predictions here. We're just talking it out. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah. And let me give my forewarning now, because we always know that there are people who want to short everything that moves, right? So just, remember what Uncle JJ said. If this thing gets over 48,000, just maybe do hit and run shorts. Don't do these,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure. For
don't do
sure.
these Dr. Michael Burry, Jim Chanos, I'm going to short this thing and not sleep for 5 years kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, just make sure. And we've had these talks too before, not to get off on a
Yeah.
tangent here, JJ, but just
Yeah.
shorting is inherently harder than going long, right?
Yes, especially in markets where there's no supply.
And there's market with no supply. ETFs just got, we got billions of
Yeah.
dollars coming in. It just doesn't seem like it, and trust me, and JJ, you know me, I love shorting.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I
I mean,
love
I
shorting.
was
This
trained
doesn't seem like the one to short right now.
I was trained to short by the Prince of Darkness himself, Mr. Fierro from Fierro Brothers, who is now lying on a beach in Florida, enjoying the sun. But so I love to short, but not this thing. I'm not taking a poke at this thing.
Yep. All right. And so that is going to conclude today's episode of Confessions of a Market Maker. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please rate and review it for us. If you'd like to join a professional and supportive community of traders, you can join us at microefutures.com. I'm Paulie Walnuts. He's the gorilla of House Street. You stops though.